Dear Mr. Fresh Rinse, I am a long-time listener and first-time caller. I am a single father of 2, and I'm wondering, when should I quit my full-time job to pursue full-time pressure washing? Yours truly, Washless in Seattle. Nah, I'm just joking. It's a blank piece of paper. But it's a great question, and that's what we're going to talk about today, so don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. My name is Mike. They call me the Fresh Rinse. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure and do that. Hit that like button and leave a comment. I'd be greatly appreciative. So the question is, when should I leave my full-time job to pursue a career in pressure washing? In particular, a full-time career in pressure washing. Well, let me real quickly say that that's really circumstantial. I mean, your situation is going to be far different than mine. I might share a little bit of my situation or my story here in just a few moments, but everybody's story is going to be different. So it's not just cut and dry. It's not just a blanket answer that this is the answer to the question. And as a mature adult, you'll just have to decide in the end and then ask those around you to support you where they can. Well, I think it's a great question. When can I leave my job to land in a full-time position as a pressure washer, i.e. beginning a pressure washing business of my own? And again, I think it's a great question. I want to give you 3 absolute musts out of 50, like the Fresh Rinse's top 3 absolute musts out of a bunch that you have to have in place before you start a pressure washing business. In particular, before you leave a full-time position somewhere to begin a pressure washing business. I want to give those to you here in just a moment. Let's kind of till the soil here a little bit before we plant those 3 seeds. I want to say just a few things. First of all, the first thing that comes to my mind, in fact, it's a question that I ask whenever someone says, Mike, when should I leave my job to start a pressure washing business? The first question I ask is, why would you do that? Like, you've already been blessed with a job. You have a career. You have something in the works. And again, it's circumstantial. Maybe you're about to get laid off and that's the answer to the question. Maybe your company's about to get bought out and you're going to lose all of your benefits. That might help you to answer the question. But I'm speaking in general. I think it's a legitimate question. Why would you leave? Like, I never see people. I mean, are there Facebook pages devoted to people who are recovering pressure washers? Like, are there other people out there making videos on when can I leave my full-time pressure washing business to do this? I mean, surely this isn't the end all, and I'll get to that here in just a moment. But this pressure washing isn't the end all to all of your problems. But it seems like there are about 4 reasons why people want to ask that question. When should I leave so that I can start my pressure washing business? One is they absolutely hate their job. Like, you absolutely, the position that you're in, where you work, you absolutely hate it. And you're just dying to not do it anymore. That's one. The second thing might be, well, I think that I can make more money as a pressure washer. Well, that's up to you. I don't know how much money you're making, but it's all relative. You probably aren't going to make that much starting out. So that's going to help you to answer that question. Another reason people might ask the question is it just looks easier. Pressure washing looks easier than what I'm doing now. Well, I don't know what you're doing now, but if you're hanging off the side of a ship wrestling sharks, then yeah, it's probably easier than that, but it's all relative. There are going to be days when it's not so easy. And then the fourth thing is, I just feel like that pressure washing, owning a pressure washing business will allow me more free time with my family. Well, all 4 of those really there could be a series of these videos on just those 4 points, like 4 videos, and we could tackle all of that. We're not going to do that. But let's just hit the highlights. First of all, you say, Well, I hate my current job. Well, just let me kind of fill in the blanks real quickly, and I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people will not tell you. And I'm kind of like the Simon Cowell of pressure washing. Like, I'm just going to lay this out here. There are a lot of people in the pressure washing industry who want you to start a pressure washing business because that's the only way that they can maintain their side hustle or their full-time hustle. And there's not a thing wrong with selling courses. Not a thing wrong with it. They're educated. They've run the gamut. They've put out the fires, and they're going to help you to prevent that. There's not a thing wrong with that. There's not a thing wrong with building rigs, and there's not a thing wrong with holding conferences and teaching. Listen, it's the American way, and it's free market enterprise, and I even encourage it. Like, it's part of being an American. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That being said, new businesses are necessary to maintain those businesses, you see. So you need a Simon Cowell to tell you all the things that you may not hear in those courses. I'm not suggesting that you won't hear them. I'm just saying that it's easy for us to fluff it up, even in my videos, to fluff it up, to see all the funny that's going on. Humorous Mike, he's just out there and he's just happy-go-lucky. I wasn't happy when that customer came around the house and said, Mike, my house is on fire. And they were without a house for a week. Yeah, I wasn't laughing. I'm kind of laughing now, but I wasn't laughing then. And I wasn't laughing when I burnt all of those bushes. And I wasn't laughing when I killed all those fish. I just, so you say, well, I just hate my job right now. Well, there are going to be times when you hate pressure washing. So it's not the end all. And then also you say, well, I think I can make more money. True. It's possible, depending upon how much money you make. But you know what? There are many other things that you can do that will make a lot more money than pressure washing. It's true. Have you checked into those? Again, I'm just asking, why would you want to leave your job? If it's to make more money, have you checked all the other things? Like, have you checked everything and then you landed on pressure washing? And I want to ask, why did you land on pressure washing? And then you say, well, it just looks easier than what I'm doing. Maybe, but we have a tendency to make it look easy. The average video is about 7 to 10 minutes. We don't throw in all of the heartache that goes with it. From time to time, you'll see it, but it just looks easier. Well, perhaps it is, but know that there are some days when you just want to quit. You just absolutely hate it. And then you might say, well, it looks like, you get to spend more time with your family. Yeah, I don't know about that. Some would say, Mike, you're just not doing it right. If you were doing it right, you'd spend a lot more time with your family. Well, I suppose there's some truth to that. There are certainly different ways and maybe even better ways to do it. But I will tell you that as with any fresh startup of a small business, it's all consuming. Like, it is absolutely consuming. Whereas at your current job, it's possible and likely that you clock out at some point and you let management, supervision, and ownership deal with all the behind the scenes things, right, that's going on. And you go and then you do whatever you need to do with your family and whatever, while they do all the behind the scenes stuff. When you start a business, you do it all, every single thing. There are many ways to do a business, not just the way that I do it. So, look into that. But have you considered all of those things? Now, you might say, well, Mike, you're still doing it. If it's that hard, why are you still doing it? I never said it was. I never for a second said it wasn't worth quitting your full-time job. I'm simply saying that there's more to it. It's not just about landing on that one day where you say, I think it's just good for me to do this. There's a lot to consider. So it's not a blanket answer. It's not a black and white answer. You've really got to come to it with a lot of research. And then once you do land on that decision, I'm quitting, I'm going to do this, then it's quite a journey. It really is quite a journey. Let me give you those 3 things real quickly that I believe are musts, absolute musts, before you can or should start a small business, in particular we see it from our angle, a pressure washing business. The first thing is this: you absolutely have to have family medical insurance. Insurance for yourself, insurance for your family. Covered. Like you're not going to have to worry about that. Because I'm hearing guys tell me that they're leaving their positions where that they had benefits and they just, like, they can't stand it anymore. They're just going to do it. Like, they're passion driven and they're going to do it. And they leave without medical insurance. Well, I will tell you that's probably one of the most immature responses to the lack of responsibility that I've ever heard in my life. Now, my situation was different. I didn't leave a job to start a pressure washing business. I didn't have a job. Like, I didn't have a job. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have anything. We weren't robbing from Peter to pay Paul. We were robbing from Peter and Paul. And we were on the system. We were getting assistance. Our struggle was real. And we fortunately had friends wrapped around us who were helping us to get through these seasons that we were in. But until my wife graduated from college and was able to get start a career of her own in teaching, we didn't have medical insurance. Our medical insurance was government fixated and very shallow at best. And so I didn't have anything to leave. It was a necessity for me to start something. And I'm going to make a video on my journey and how I got started. Maybe we'll do that really, really soon. So stay tuned. But I didn't have anything to quit. If you have something to quit, you've got more to risk than I did. So please take it all with a grain of salt, but take it nonetheless. So family medical insurance, you got to have that. The second thing is this. I would highly encourage at least 6 months of expenses, your family expenses, 6 months in savings. No less than 6 months. And the more the better. And then on top of that 6 months at least of expenses for your family, will you please consider having an off-season expense as well? Like 6 months of all of your expenses, from everything from taxes, food, shelter, clothing, everything in place before you leave your job, plus off-season expenses. Now, if your uncle who owns an HVAC company is going to employ you through the winter months, not everybody has an off-season. If you're in the lower 48, then maybe you don't have an off-season. Most of us do. But and you've got that job lined up, then you're golden after the 6 months, at least 6 months. Because the fact of the matter is, anything can happen. And there are so many expenses with pressure washing that you have to have 6 months on top of all of that. If I'm scaring you out of pressure washing, then it's not for you. That's not what I want to do. But again, somebody has to be the Simon Cowell to say that it's just not all that. It's not all gravy. I promise you that's not. And the third thing is this, and probably, if not, absolutely most important. Before you leave your full-time job to pursue a full-time position as the owner-operator of a pressure washing business, you absolutely have to have 110% support from your spouse. Like, regardless of if you have all of those things in place, but you don't have their support, don't do it. It's not worth it. There are a lot of things you can do. I pass a lot of opportunities, people working, doing this, and this, all over the place, that you could do and work less hours, easier work, and make more money than pressure washing. Make sure that your spouse is 110% on board. And I'll tell you why. Because there are no solo operators. It is a team effort. If you have a spouse, if you have a family, it is a family business. Like, by default, it's a family business. It's not what you do if you don't have to clock out or if you don't get to clock out. you start a business, you're not clocking out. It is 24/7. Now you carve time. You can carve time on a calendar, but it's hard to carve that time up here, right? So know that this is an interference with your family if they are not 110% on board. Let me give you one more as an honorable mention, but I still believe that this is within the top 4, no doubt. Consider everything. Have you considered everything? Taxes, insurance, maintenance. Are you able to do all the maintenance? Because if not, that's an expense that you're going to have to fork out. The equipment and the more equipment. Like, it's not just equipment, it's more equipment. And all that goes with that. Those 4 things, let's recap those really, really quickly. Family medical insurance, at least 6 months of expenses plus a winter expense, if not a winter job. 110% support from your spouse, and then considering all the expenses that goes with owning a pressure washing business. It's our responsibility to provide for our families. It's our responsibility to make all of that happen. And so to that, I say, if you've got a full-time job, especially if you've got tenure and you've got benefits and you've got 401k, if all of that is in place and you've got insurance, as I said, benefits, don't let YouTube and Facebook glamorize this thing called pressure washing, because there are many things that you can do that are easier, make more money, and provide more time for your family. Consider all of that. Well, leave it to Debbie Downer on this dreary Wednesday to just be a little sour apple. Well, all right. I really appreciate you watching. I hope that this was beneficial to you in some way. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity to come before you today and just kind of lay some of this out. I have a ton of these videos that I plan to make between now, here we are just before Christmas, and March of this year when we go back to washing houses again. If you've got questions and you'd like for me to address them, again, I don't pretend to be some guru or to have all the answers, but if you ask, I'll do my best to give you an answer, and it's one answer of many. So it may not be the right one, it's just another one. My name's Mike, they call me the Fresh Rinse, and I'm out of here.